Welcome to Young Patriots, the heartbeat of African resistance.
This short video shows why Traoré is a real threat to the West and how their accusations are sending shockwaves. Watch till the end, then tell us what you think about these claims in the comments section.
You are on African soil, not for the first time, but this would be a good moment to ask about one of the countries that has taken its own autonomy, and that's Burkina Faso. Your remarks recently at the Senate seem to suggest that he's diverting, General Traoré, is diverting its 4 billion gold reserves to sustain his military rule rather than for public welfare. These remarks sparked widespread condemnation across the continent. What did you mean by that statement?
Let me speak to Burkina Faso's sovereignty. They maintain their sovereignty. They make their decisions how they use their resources. They make their decisions who their resources go to for military support. That's their sovereign right. But my cautionary tale was just from a military perspective. That was a Senate Armed Services Committee asking me a direct question. Burkina Faso, a lot of great things going on to progress them forward, okay? But then when you look at the military part of it, knowing that that's the epicenter of global terrorism, it was my time to illuminate that this is probably their weakest point, and there needs to be sufficient resources going towards for the whole fight of terrorism in that country, period. They make their decisions, though. That's their sovereignty, their sovereign right to make their decisions, what is appropriate, what's not. But I wanted to illuminate that is going in the wrong direction now. ISIS is getting stronger. JNIM is getting stronger. Al-Qaeda in the lands of the Maghreb is getting stronger in that country.
And do you think it's getting stronger after General Traoré took over?
It has. Just look at the numbers of attacks. It really has, since 2022. I've been tracking this since I took command. So, no ill will towards him, but the decisions is their own. They're looking for other ways to be able to, they're still on warfighting footing. It's just going to take more resources.
So you stand by that statement? Because there's been pressure on you to walk those statements back.
That's my statement. That's my assessment. That is getting worse. More needs to be done for not just local, but the whole of country, because of these violent extremist organizations are seeking revenue, they're seeking resources, they're seeking recruiting from the Burkinabe people, and they're seeking refuge within their country. That threatens their sovereignty.
And that threatens America's interest?
Say again?
Does that then threaten America's interests?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Because especially ISIS, and of course in East Africa is inextricably linked all the way to ISIS West Africa, ISIS Sahel, and there's going to be probably a move afoot for them to move and seek refuge within the line. So we have shared objectives, and we offer to work together with the Burkina government and border countries.
The audacity of empire never ceases to amaze. On May 27th, 2025, General Michael Langley, the commander of the United States Africa Command, AFRICOM, sat down with Kenya's Citizen TV in Nairobi to defend his earlier slander against Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Langley's attempt to walk back his inflammatory remarks, made during a US Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on April 3, 2025, only deepens the wound of Western hypocrisy. His accusations that Traoré misused Burkina Faso's gold reserves to protect his junta, rather than benefit the nation's 23 million citizens, sparked a firestorm of outrage across Africa. Now, after Africans rose in unison to defend their son, Traoré, Langley's feeble attempt to spin his narrative as a military perspective reeks of desperation. This is not just a story about one general's backpedaling, it's a glaring expose of the West's age-old playbook of destabilizing Africa to maintain its chokehold on the continent's resources and sovereignty. But this time, with revolutionary leaders like Traoré at the helm and a united African consciousness awakening, the West is finding its schemes faltering. Let's rewind to April 3, 2025. In the hallowed halls of the US Senate, General Langley, the first black four-star general in the US Marine Corps and AFRICOM's 6th commander, stood before the Senate Armed Services Committee. Responding to a question from Senator Roger Wicker about corruption linked to Chinese trade, Langley zeroed in on Burkina Faso's young leader. "Absolutely, Chairman, I see this and I don't mind calling it out," he declared with the arrogance of a colonial overseer. "Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, their gold reserves are just in exchange to protect the junta regime." The words landed like a grenade across Africa. From Ouagadougou to Nairobi, from Lagos to Accra, the African continent erupted in righteous indignation. Social media platforms, X, TikTok, Instagram, became battlegrounds where Africans and the diaspora unleashed their fury. On X, posts decried Langley's remarks as a textbook case of Western interference, with one user framing it as "defenders of sovereignty branded as threats, the hypocrisy of General Langley's words on Burkina Faso." Another post thundered, "America is after Ibrahim Traoré to eliminate him just like they killed Gaddafi. If America touches Traoré, the AU must consider it a declaration of war against Africa." Protests erupted outside US embassies, with demonstrators in London and Ouagadougou waving placards reading, "Hands off Ibrahim Traoré," and "No silence, no surrender." The Burkinabe government, led by the 36-year-old Traoré, the world's youngest head of state, swiftly condemned Langley's remarks as regrettable and gravely inaccurate. In a fiery response, Traoré declared, "We must choose to fight or we will remain slaves forever," invoking Burkina Faso's painful colonial history under French rule and his government's unyielding commitment to sovereignty. The Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, in South Africa echoed this sentiment, denouncing Langley's claims as a blatant imperialist tactic aimed at destabilizing a sovereign African state. The Alliance of Sahel States, AES, comprising Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, issued a joint statement slamming the US for its neo-colonial rhetoric and reaffirming their resolve to protect their resources and independence. Africans were not just angry, they were wounded. Langley's accusation wasn't merely a critique of Traoré's leadership, it was an assault on the aspirations of a continent striving to break free from centuries of exploitation. For decades, Western powers have plundered Africa's gold, diamonds and oil, leaving its people in poverty while foreign corporations grew fat.
Believe in truth, power, and a rising Africa? This is your home. Subscribe now. Stand tall. Stay woke. Young patriots, where revolution lives.